Hi everybody, my name is Riccardo Sai. I'm a photographer, creative producer, director, and I'm the founder of visual storytelling studio Storo. I'm here today with my friend and collaborator Alessandro Ferullo, who is a Qigong teacher and the founder of Flowing Health. So Alessandro, welcome to my podcast. And why don't we start with you telling us a bit more about who you are and what you do.
Yes, so I'm Italian originally, born in Indonesia, living in London for the last 50 years. And I teach something called Qigong. Some people may know what it is, but it's similar to Tai Chi. That's a common question. What's the difference? But Qi is energy and Gong is practice. So it's a very simple 4,000-year-old practice on helping people to rebalance their health, their emotions, to settle the mind, to heal. Actually, it's a very well known as a healing practice, and I've been doing it about 35 years, and often as a hobby, as a study. However, in the last 2-3 years, I've taken it more seriously. I'm bringing it now more into the corporate world, and I realized that my reason for coming to it wasn't because of ill health. A lot of people come due to maybe suffering something, physically or emotionally. And I asked myself, actually, it was during lockdown, I was really examining my own reasons for doing Qigong. And I realized I came to it because I felt a bit disconnected around that time. I grew up, I think, living in over 8 countries before the age of 10. So when I came to England to boarding school, I was a bit disconnected from my parents, from my land, from Italy. And it took me many years to realize Qigong helped me to reconnect with myself on a deeper level. And this is something I help people with. And I think it's one of the great benefits of the practice. When we reconnect better with ourselves, we realize we're all connected together. And there's one energy that creates everything, and it's a mysterious energy which we call the Qi.
It's every time we talk about Qi, the energy, I find it really interesting because I'm a Buddhist myself, so there's a lot of similarities with what you do and what I do as well, and a lot of the transformation that I've been through as an individual, as well as a business owner as well, have been, they really started because of my inner transformation. So that's why I really wanted to understand a bit more where you're coming from and how Qigong can also help leaders as well, because I know this is an area that you are developing more and you're working a lot in the corporate world as well. So there's a lot of risk of burnout as well at the leadership level. So I just wanted to find out a bit more about that, and also your take on leadership, because from your very unique and perspective, because you're a Qigong expert, really. So energy, leadership, what's the link between the two? And what do you think?
That's a very good question. I worked in the corporate world for about 20 years. I worked in textiles, I worked in publishing, and I saw a lot of bad leadership, to be honest. I think in the old days, people could get away with a lot more than nowadays, as we know. And in the old days, and maybe even nowadays, there tend to be more men in leadership roles. And I think that the way that men have understood leadership and power over others instead of power with others is just something that's been in society for so long, and it's not an easy thing to transform or change. So I'm very interested in looking at what makes people, act in certain ways. How about them reconnecting with, firstly, themselves on a deeper level, and when they do that, you know this from Buddhism, when we really kind of start going into ourselves, then we feel that we can connect with others also on a deeper level. We're all in this together. We're all men, women, whatever gender we are. We're all sort of on this planet to kind of do the best we can. But often in leadership roles, people get away with maybe being either abusive or having power over others or not admitting their faults. So I'm really into leaders being more open, having maybe a vulnerability that's quite robust. I like this word, robust vulnerability. And I've thought of the 6 C's that leadership could really sort of benefit from. And one is connection. How connected are we to ourselves and others? Compassion. Do we have compassion for ourselves if we're struggling and for others in what they're going through? Curiosity. As leaders, sometimes people think they know it all or they've been through it. Actually, when we're curious, the ego stops working for a while, not permanently, but it goes on hold. So young children are curious, and actually they're so creative and find solutions that adults can't. So being curious. Clarity, having clarity on our purpose and how we want to lead others and how we want to lead ourselves, and how do we show up maybe both at home and in the office. There's no point being an ogre or not very nice in the office and then sweet as pie at home. Creativity, and then courage. That's the final C. And the courage, quite important that it contains the word cœur, the French word for heart. So courage is actually having, of course, we all have a heart, but how do we stay open-hearted within the business? And people pick it up. People pick up our energy. We know this English expression, you pick up good vibes, bad vibes. We're just all made up of energy. This is science. Einstein says it. It's not me saying it. It's not Qigong saying it. So if we can keep our energy balanced, if we can keep it cultivated, if we can transform emotions that maybe don't serve us, then as leaders we can be more effective, more productive, better connected, and have a greater impact, positive impact in the world.
That's so beautiful,
answer, sorry.
Yeah, no, it's beautiful. It's incredible how when you talk about leadership, there's so many different angles that you can have in talking about leadership. So I really appreciate your very unique perspective because it just feels very new, but at the same time there's a lot of similarities with other like leadership coaches as well. So I find that really, really intriguing. So what makes you kind of answered already, but I wanted to ask you a bit more into details. What do you think, in your opinion, what makes a good leader, and do we need more good leaders, and why do you think we need more good leaders? If you think we need more leaders, good leaders.
We 100% need more good leaders. And there's certain qualities which are obvious, like, honesty, integrity, authenticity. If we look at the leaders, and I'm not mentioning names, and I'm not really into politics that much, but just those three, honesty, integrity, authenticity, aren't really present much these days. I can't think of many leaders in the world who embody those. So firstly, we have to be authentic and honest, have integrity. Secondly, we have to be prepared to admit maybe sometimes that we don't know certain things, or admit that we're vulnerable. If we're together with a team, to be able to say, I don't know the answer to this. Can you help me? Can we work together? So actually, coming not down to their level, but being at a level where you feel safe to admit those things. And a lot of leaders aren't in that position. And I think the main two things are compassion and connection. And I recommend highly this book called Reinventing Masculinity, which is a book by Ed Frauenheim and Ed Adams. And they talk about the liberating power of compassion and connection. So the liberating power, and I think that word liberating is really important, because they talk about how in leadership, and there are more men in leadership still, and that's changing, thank God. But they talk about confined masculinity. if masculinity is confined, then we have problems. Leaders protect themselves. Leaders pretend they know it all. Leaders have power over others. So this idea of liberating masculinity by bringing in compassion and connection, plus the other few C's. But if we start with those two, that's already a great start. And we have to start with ourselves. If leaders can be honest and start with themselves, and that's where I come in often to bring in that aspect of dealing with transforming emotions, which may not be helpful, preventing stress building up. What if the leader can go home and be relaxed with his family and have a practice? Doesn't have to be Qigong, but have an energy practice where he can sleep better. He can start the day in a better state. Energetically, he's already arriving in the workplace in better shape, he or she, but we're talking mainly about men at the moment, but this definitely relates to women as well. Because again, with the confined masculinity, sometimes women have been pushed so far that they have to be even more powerful than the men to prove that they can do the same job. And that's a struggle for women as well. So this whole idea of balance, if we can work together as men, as women, and let's not separate the men and the women. But the reason I brought men up is because I have a great interest in how men can show up in a healthier, more compassionate and connected way.
Beautiful. Absolutely. Eye-opening what you're talking about. There's one element of what you just said which really deeply resonates with me, which is connection. We do different things because I focus on stories. I focus on images that move people emotionally and intellectually and spiritually as well. And I think the power of stories is also that they connect you with others, connect what you have inside with what is happening outside, and also they empower you to change what's happening outside, starting from the inside. So I was just interested to if you could tell me a bit more about connection. Why do you think as a leader is important to feel connected or to connect, and to connect with what? So leadership, connection, energy, what's the link?
Yeah, well, thanks for asking that. I never thought about it that way, but now you mention it, that there's a beautiful story about connection in that as humans, the earth gives us life. The heaven or the sky, the sun keeps everything alive and nourishes us. And in Qigong terms, the earth is the yin element. It's a nourishing and it's a receiving. Those are the qualities. And the heaven is pure and action and healing. And that's the yang element. So everything is about a balance. So actually, we're only kept alive by this connection to the heaven, to the earth. Sometimes if people call it God, that's okay. Give it a different name. But this yin and yang and the balance of that is what really keeps us, firstly, alive. So we need to acknowledge and respect that. And if we can keep that idea of connection to nature, to the universe around us, to the breath that keeps us alive, that's already a big step forward. Sometimes as humans, people get a little bit disconnected from, let's say, nature or from what gives them life. And when they do that, health suffers, other people suffer. So when we find leaders who are really connected, they definitely have a practice to center themselves, to keep their energy settled, to maybe recharge their energy. They all, if you have a look, they all have interesting practices, whether it's, having a cold shower to get their, circulation going, to having a coach that's helping them to stay grounded. This connection is number one, that we are kept alive by something beyond us. We need to respect that and keep that inspiration. When we open up to that, in Qigong terms, the mind is more open. We get more insights, more inspiration. We feel more supported. So we get solutions, we get more inspiration, we get more support. So those are benefits of being more connected. Then when we're more connected with others, starting with ourselves, people pick that up. People, gravitate towards us, or people feel better working together with us. So people feel more motivated. If you're a leader that's well-grounded, connected, balanced, people definitely, I believe, teams can be more inspired, more connected. So it's a win-win, but the leader has to start with him or herself. And it's a natural connection. And I'll just finish on this. I did a Qigong session for 22 leaders in a big multi-billion-dollar company. That was the first one I did after COVID, after lockdown. And it was amazing. All we did is we held our arms in the air. We connected with heaven, connected with the earth. We moved the energy through the body. These people had never done Qigong before. But after an hour or so, they all felt so, whether it's connected, they felt better. They felt synchronized. The energy did something to them, because that's what we are. We are energy beings. And I heard from the HR leader that they were talking about the Qigong session all day, which was a great sort of compliment. But of course, while we were doing it, I was thinking, I'm getting these leaders from India, Europe, all over the world to hold their arms in the air, stand on the earth. What are they going to think? But actually, that's who they are. That's who we are. We are, energy beings connected to nature. When we do that, it inspires, nourishes, and keeps us productive, happy, motivated, actually improves our life on all levels.
Beautiful. Yeah. And I was thinking as well that I assume that when you rebalance your energy levels, and you kind of balance your inside with your outside, you become more empowered. You become more almost like a magnet, and people are drawn to you. Your people who are working with you, your family, your friends, your partner as well. So it reminds me of when I started practicing Buddhism, there was and we were talking a lot with other colleagues, and especially people who were starting to be Buddhist, and a lot of time what we used to say to them is that, well, just try and see if it works for you. So and I did try Qigong, and it's very similar to my experience with Buddhism in terms of really trying to do those exercises in Buddhist terms, trying to chant, go to meetings and everything, and just look at the difference that can make in your life. And a lot of the things that people acknowledged when they started to practice Buddhism, in my case, but I wanted to ask you if it's the same with you as well, with the people who are working with you. It's a sort of magnetism, really kind of so do people experience that when they do Qigong with you?
Yeah, I think they feel more at ease with themselves. I think a lot of problems come from anxiety or worry or holding on to emotions. And when people start understanding that we are not the emotions, they're just moving through us like clouds. Actually, just to add to what you said, Qigong brings a lot of Buddhist ideas and meditations and principles in as well as Taoist. So it's very integrating of all these other practices. But I think when people feel more at ease with themselves and realize that there's something beyond them, that when they're asleep, it keeps them alive, which is the breath and the energy. When they're awake, they can cultivate and they can improve that, not just their physical health, but their emotional health, their mental health, then they see the value of it. I think it is, we can even practice it out in nature. If you go for a long walk in nature, in a way, that's kind of Qigong practice. You're connecting with energy of the nature around you. It's a natural practice. It's not doing something weird. So Qigong, again, is not doing something odd. It's reconnecting with something natural. And that's what Qigong is doing, sort of studying nature. And we are all connected with that.
Yeah, no, that's very, very interesting. Also, because one area there where I work is working with purpose-driven brands and companies working in sustainability and purpose-led leaders as well. So it really resonates what you're just saying. So I'm just really thinking that uh, these people, these brands are somehow already tuned in with the Qigong practice, even without knowing it, you know. So yeah, it's really, really beautiful. And um, so one thing I just wanted to ask you something that I was just looking at your website, and I absolutely love that quote. I don't know if it's yours or if it's coming from somewhere else, but you do mention remember to always keep a smile in your heart. So can you explain a bit more about that? What do you mean with that?
Yes, and maybe people listening can join me or us when I explain this a little bit on what that means and how to express it, how the body picks it up. It's an idea. One of my good friends, Margaret, came to Qigong. She was given 6 months to live with breast cancer, and she decided to go deep into the practice, and she lived 26 years and became a really good Qigong teacher. And when she went to China, she met a very famous Qigong master and said, what's the most important thing about the practice? Because she'd been practicing 26 years. There's so much to do and practice. And he told her, he said, always keep a smile in your heart. So she brought that back, that transmission, if you like. And if those who are listening, just think about it. You can close your eyes, or you don't have to close your eyes, but just think about, what does it feel like to have a smile in my heart? And suddenly my heart feels just a bit relaxed, at ease. And we can go further into that if you go into meditation and just get a sense of the heart more open, more relaxed, more spacious. And then what about a smile in every cell of the body? The cells are like mini universes, as we know. They have a little brain, they have elimination. What if every cell in the body was smiling? Suddenly the body feels really relaxed, at ease. And so when things are difficult in life, that quote for me personally is really important. I keep a smile in my heart. I'm going through this really difficult time. Nevertheless, I have a good attitude. I know I'm going to come through this. And I've heard this. I heard this quote from a famous billionaire recently who said, sometimes the worst thing that's ever happened in your life ends up being the best thing. So actually to have an attitude of not being happy at everything that happens, but what if we can keep that smile? And if things are difficult, still remind ourselves to have that smile in our heart. And there is a Qigong practice, you can go deeper into it, where you smile into all the internal organs. And that's a way of healing as well. That's a whole other conversation. But the heart is our organ of truth. In the Chinese tradition, the mind is in the heart. The heart is so key for leaders, to have an open heart, to connect through the heart. And people pick up that transmission from the heart. If I'm smiling in my heart, I know if I'm walking in the street and I'm a bit tense and I'm walking to the station, I pick up people who are tense or tension around me. Sometimes when I connect my feet into the earth, I'm walking, I'm smiling in my heart, people smile at me. It's a reflection of who we are. So it's just a little hint that might help people to just remember, no matter what we're going through, we're all human. We'll be going up and down. Keep a smile in your heart and just notice how you feel in that moment. And it's a beautiful, I'll never forget that. And Margaret is no longer with us, but I thank her for that sharing.
Yeah, nice. Yeah, it's beautiful, and it really makes me think that if we keep that smile within our hearts. And also we have that smile when we go to work, in our business, in the culture of our business, then perhaps also the world is smiling or will start to smile. So it's almost like, we start from within, as we said before, and then we project that smile to our business, to our family, to our city and to the rest of the world. So it's a beautiful,
beautiful. Yeah,
beautiful
it is
image.
contagious. I guarantee it's one of the best contagious things in the world.
Yeah. We kind of going back to what we said before about connectivity and magnetism, because when I think there's something quite magnetic about comedy. You know, if someone laugh, you laugh as well, no? So again, it's going back to that smile that you have within yourself. So it's quite contagious. So I think it's such a beautiful metaphor. Well, Alessandro, I absolutely loved this chat, encompassing purpose, leadership, smiles, and Qigong. So I'm really grateful that you joined me today. So just tell us a bit more about how can people find out a bit more about Qigong? How can they try perhaps Qigong?
Well, the company is Flowing Health, so they can find that on the website, flowinghealth.co.uk. I offer a free call online if people want to talk about it, how it might help them, in their health or in their life. And I have a membership group, which is a live session every week. I do sessions for corporate now. There's more demand for that. So just get in touch. And my name is here, Alessandro Ferullo. And on YouTube, lots of free videos that people can watch if they have a look at Qigong with Alessandro. Qigong spelled Qigong. And so I've been really, happy to share, on leadership, on energy. I never thought I'd be doing that. I just thought Qigong was just for good health, and let's stick with that. But leadership is good health for the company, for society. So let's help leaders be healthier whichever way we can. I'm so proud to know you, working with, helping companies to get out there more through your incredible work. And I really appreciate, knowing you, and I'm so inspired by you as well, Riccardo. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Alessandro. Well, it's been great again, Alessandro. Thank you again for being here. And if people have if anyone has any questions, feel free to ask us in the chat. We couldn't answer to all the questions, but please feel free to connect with me or Alessandro on any social medias. We are present in pretty much across the whole spectrum. And let's continue the conversation, and let's bring more smile in the world. So thank you, Alessandro, again.
Keep smiling. Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you, everybody. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.